Hello, Hockey World. It is Friday, March 4th, 2022.
I'm Michael Agello, and the Islanders and Oilers both lost.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology. I don't even understand you anymore, Mike.
Kevin Allen, Hockey Buzz.
I'm Eklund. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday, fill you in comings and goings in the hockey world. Not a good night for the Islanders' hope last night.
I love being
start with the Islanders. The Islanders' last thread of hope update. Islanders losing last night to Vancouver, which is another team we have to talk about. But also the Capitals kind of rebounded. Last night was a good. I know we don't like to talk too much about the games because we've already done that, but last night had some really crazy outcomes in games and some really interesting ones. And I kind of wanted to start with that first off, that Pittsburgh-Tampa game, which was like, one of these games you'd expect to be something, that sounds like it's a conference final type game to me. That's like those are two teams that could seriously meet in the conference final. And Pittsburgh just owned them. It was really interesting like that, and I know Tampa's got some players out and Tampa's coach gets kicked out of the game last night for mouthing off. That was pretty interesting too. Cooper's definitely he's such a good coach, but that's a great game to get kicked out of. But my gosh, like Pittsburgh is just, I don't think anyone wants to admit how good Pittsburgh might be. Like Pittsburgh might be.
I've been admitting it all year, so don't bring me in that.
This is not like there were many Pittsburgh teams in the past when we said, "Oh, this is a Stanley Cup contender." This is a Stanley Cup contender. This Pittsburgh team.
Yeah. Yes. And okay. Yes, they are. But I think there's still a level of skepticism. It's like when it comes to Jarry, and yes, he's having a fantastic regular season. I freely admit that he's bounced back from that playoff flub last year, but until he gets back in the playoffs and proves that it was a flub, I think there's a seed of doubt out there on them.
I mean, I don't have any skepticism for him or the team, their work ethic or otherwise. I think, to me, it's like we're all of a sudden going to say, "Hey, Jarry, we don't know if Jarry can do it." You might as well say it about half the goalies in the league because he's had that good a year. It's like,
Russ, the thing is, Kev, like last year, and I know this because I picked Pittsburgh players in my fantasy hockey pool. They outplayed the Islanders. The difference was the goaltending. The difference was, Jarry, especially in games 5 and 6, just couldn't make a save when they needed it. And I thought Pittsburgh had a chance of going deep in the playoffs last year, and the goaltending was front and center with the reason that they didn't. Now, if that's different this year, then they could.
Yeah. I mean, you're both kind of right, but I tend to have the same perspective that Russ has on this. He hasn't been around. Like if he had done this several years in a row, it would be one thing. But he had one season, and so there's no reason to believe he can't play well in the playoffs. I mean, it is a different level of pressure, but most professional athletes figure out how to deal with the pressure of the postseason. So the thing about that game last night, first of all, and Mike Sullivan said after the game that it was Malkin's best performance since he came back. And if you look at Malkin's stats, he's over a point per game. He's playing very, very well. But he was in full beast mode last night, which I think is, critical for them. And, they've had so many things, they being the Penguins, that have been better than expected. Huntington has been better than expected. They got a great run out of Rodriguez. Jarry's been very good. Now that they've got both Crosby and Malkin back, they look like the team of own. I mean, Carter has re-energized his career in Pittsburgh. So they've got a lot going on. I've heard not from the Penguins, but from people around the league that they're seeking to maybe upgrading their second and third lines. I think they'll be poking around there. And I wouldn't be shocked if they were looking for someone else to play with Malkin. I think they think he's still got a lot going on. And I think they would like to get a little better crew there.
Well, Malkin's favorite line mate of all time is out there. That's Phil Kessel is Malkin and Kessel are a killer combination. They just
but can you filter a $6.8 million salary?
No, it's not even worth it to try. It's not even worth it.
Yeah,
they couldn't make that work. Like,
they couldn't make that work. I know, I agree with you, but that's but there's no question that Malkin has missed Kessel not being there. That's
now right now.
That's fair, yeah.
Right now, Zucker's on LTIR. I don't
right for now.
Season ending. I'll take Kevin off of video here for a sec while he's something here. But if that's the case, and he's out for the rest of the regular season, I haven't heard any update on it. Somebody in the chat might be able to, but if he right now, I haven't heard either. And if he is, then they could afford to bring in a Kessel. If not, then one thing I look at them is the Penguins are getting secondary offense from guys like Heinen, guys like Brock McGinn. I mean, they're getting
kind of need another guy like that. They don't need Phil Kessel.
Yeah, well, I agree.
They need guys that could tee it up and score. They need guys that could play an all-around game and do those other little things. So this way you don't have Malkin trying to play defense every shift and have Crosby having to play so much defense that he can't play as much offense. That's what you want to do is you want to bring in another one of those guys. I wouldn't bring in Kessel even if he was free. Yeah, no, I'm not really a big fan of bringing him in either. But it's just one of those guys that. But just watching him last night, and it occurred to me that that something I think is really in a way Burke goes for Kessel. There is definitely a Burke Kessel history.
Well, that's honestly Brian Burke has been a defender of that trade.
He has been. No, he has. He always has been.
That Kessel was a good value in terms of how he played in Toronto. The problem was that the rest of the team sucked and they finished second overall and they gave up. It ended up being Tyler Seguin and Dougie Hamilton for Kessel. The design was not to give up 2 top 10 picks
for sure
for Kessel, but that doesn't prevent the fact that Kessel was effective in Toronto for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
5 or 6 years.
Yeah, no, I mean
he's different now. And you know what the other thing is, that if you have Kessel there, now you have to worry about feeding him the puck. Like all of a sudden it changes the dynamic of your line a little bit. And I think it's too much to worry about because he's not as good as he was. It's like this isn't Kessel of the last playoff run, it's a different guy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. I do agree with that.
And they don't have the cap space to really bring in another sniper. So unless there's somebody out there that's making, less than $2 million that, is on an undervalued contract, I don't know how they do it, unless they're bringing in like a Nick Paul or Andrew Kopp or somebody like that.
It'll be somebody.
Mangiapane got his 29th last night. Just throwing that out there. He's available.
Noted. How many assists does he have?
4 maybe. 4 or 5.
Kessel?
No, Mangiapane. Mangiapane has 29 goals, 29th goal last night.
It's a very well-rounded season. You're right.
That's something. Well, if he played with anybody, but anyway, that game and then the other game that was really that was kind of disturbing a little bit and further to my point again, because if you look now, Vegas is barely hanging in the playoffs. They lose last night to Boston. Edmonton gets 1 point, so Edmonton moves ahead of them. And now Vegas is 1 point ahead of Dallas, but Dallas is 2 games at hand. So
just panic in the streets. That's what I've heard.
Just what?
Panic in the streets. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, in Vegas, panic in the streets for sure.
Yes.
No, I mean that game last night was, the Bruins are starting to. What I like about the Bruins is, they have these veteran players. You can see the veteran players are starting to take it a little more seriously. Like there's a seriousness coming about.
Yeah, sure.
And that's why it's hard. That's why it's hard to pick against the Bruins falling apart. That's why I feel like the Capitals could, if any team's going to fall apart, be the Caps. But I don't think they're going to fall apart either. They looked good last night too. But I think that that's the. But the Bruins, I don't think you're going to fall apart. And that game last night was very key. But the Vegas Golden Knights, they lost. I mean, they lost again. And
you skipped over a win. They won the other day. Yeah, let's not skip over the win to talk about another loss with them because.
Right. Well, I'm just saying they're out. They're now hanging on to this final wild card spot. So but moving into the team that they might not be worried about might not be Dallas at all, because the team that is really starting to go crazy is Vancouver. And Vancouver now is only 3 points behind them, 4 points behind them, I think. And watch them play. They beat the Islanders last night. You're watching them play in that game. Vancouver is, kind of all that we kind of thought they could be.
Vancouver has 60 points at 56 games. Vegas has 64 at 55, so they have a game in hand.
Right.
Dallas has 63 and is at 53 games, so they have three games in hand on Vancouver, two games in hand on Vegas.
Right. Dallas is the one that's in the driver's seat.
I think the one that has to worry, Kev, the one who's played, I think, badly, and maybe to the expectations that people thought at the beginning of the season has been Nashville. They're 3-1 in the last 10 games.
Yeah, and I think they're worried about how they are playing as well. And I think it's really complicated the Forsberg negotiations as well. One of the issues with Dallas is that, I kind of came to the conclusion is whatever they do with Forsberg is not going to really change. Where they are, like they're in a bad spot. Like they've got so much money committed that it's hard for them. Like they can't really rebuild, and they don't have much freedom. If they sign Forsberg, they're long term. They won't be able to change what's around them. So what you see is what you get.
Yeah,
and we're going to get the same thing, next season, and that's a terrible position to be in. Like it's kind of like where the Winnipeg Jets were for a lot of years when they were right on the treadmill, working real hard but getting nowhere.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, the Washington Capitals were in that situation for about 6 or 7 years, and it's really frustrating when you just can't seem to get any better.
Well, the one thing I worry about with Dallas is they still seem like they don't know how to handle their goalies, and Ottinger at this point is much better than Holtby. He is. Now, if Ottinger were to have a bad period or two in the playoffs, I feel like he would get pulled for Holtby based on reputation. And I think that's the problem with the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, but then Hudobin's sitting there with nothing, right? Like,
he's nothing. He's out of the picture.
I know he's got to be going somewhere. I mean, he's got to be moving.
No. What I think will happen there, unless they've completely lost confidence in Khudobin being even a backup, they would trade Holtby because he's an expiring contract, and they would bring up Khudobin to play as the backup because. Yeah. I don't know how you can move Khudobin with I think it's another year at $3.3 million, and he's essentially a backup.
So I can foresee them not doing anything in net and just leaving it and letting.
Yeah, I think we have to prepare for the possibility that we may not see a goalie move. Now, I think we might have some backups, but if Fleury doesn't want to go anywhere. Yeah, and Edmonton doesn't do anything. Where
it's down to like Varlamov and a bunch of backups. Yeah,
but Varlamov's got a year.
I know, but it doesn't mean
he's not going to come. There's no place to go. I mean, I watched the. I don't know if you guys did. I watched what McClellan had to say on that day, and boy, it was eye opening. He basically said, "I may not do anything," because this team really hasn't shown us.
But is he a guy to believe at his word, though?
I think he is because he is always one of the more aggressive general managers. Historically, he makes moves, and he just said, "I'm probably not going to be as aggressive as I normally am." I mean, there's no reason for him to say that.
No,
there isn't. I agree with
unless teams are trying to hold him hostage, looking at the goaltending situation of Vanacek and Samsonov and saying, "Well, you need a goalie." So,
but what he said was, there's only 2 goalies out there that I really liked, and one of them obviously is unavailable to him. So I don't know who the other one is, but he seemed to imply that it just didn't look plausible. So,
and if that's the case, then you're right. Then it really is mainly backup goalies that are going to move around.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, who's going for a backup goalie?
Somebody will take Martin Jones. Like it's going to happen. Philly will push someone even if it's a 7th round pick.
He's saying what teams are going for.
I know. Somebody's going to.
I asked a general manager about that just recently. He says, "Where am I going to put him?" Yeah, I got a 23-person roster, so I got to get rid of my other goalie if I'm doing that. So, and I'm not willing to do that. So
no, but there's probably someone out there that is willing to upgrade on their backup if they feel like they're going to have a good run. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I don't know if I would take Martin Jones.
I wouldn't. Look, if you're asking me, Would I take him as a GM? No.
But I think most of the GMs think as we do about Martin Jones.
Well, okay. I look.
He's going to be staying put.
I look at the East, and I think the only team, and I know that Pittsburgh likes Casey DeSmith, but there is room for upgrade there. And Florida, if they don't think Spencer Knight is ready to be a backup to Bobrovsky, and Jonas Johansson is the backup,
I think I could do that.
A veteran.
They can move for a goalie too. I do. I think that Spencer Knight. There's just a general feeling that he needs a little more time. He definitely.
So does Ron Hextall text Tim Dillabaugh and just on the slide and say, "What do you think about Martin Jones?" without Dillabaugh saying anything to Chuck Fletcher? I don't know. Maybe.
I just can't even imagine Hextall taking Martin Jones.
No, I can't. I mean, he's definitely.
I wouldn't. He wouldn't even have that conversation.
But he had him on his team way back when, or at least Dillabaugh did. He trusts Dillabaugh. That's what.
But Casey DeSmith is better than Martin Jones by a lot.
Yeah, that's why I think so.
But and in the West, I mean, in my mind, and I've firmly established this. Edmonton needs their number one, but if they're not even going to go out and make a trade, then there's no point of going out and making a trade for a number two for a backup. Because Mike Smith can be the backup, but they just don't have a number one. And Minnesota, right. I mean, I think Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota's trailed off a little bit here. They're under 500 in the last 10 games.
Talbot stunk last night.
And that's the thing.
Good. I know.
But if Fleury is not available, then they really don't have an avenue to go out and really upgrade the level of their goal.
Kakanen's the upgrade. Whether they have the guts to go with it or not is what is.
Yeah, he's the better. Yeah, and they might. I mean, Guerin might have the guts to go. They could see them going with him. I think
he might. But he's got to convince Everson too.
Yeah, no, he's got to convince Everson for sure. But they definitely are a younger group. Kevin, I liked your notebook, and a couple things I wanted to talk about from there for a second. The one thing you had. These five players that Thomas Chabot, Brent Burns, Darnell Nurse, Seth Jones, and Zach Werenski are averaging 26 or more minutes per game this season. And none of those teams are currently in a playoff spot. The Oilers are now. They weren't when you wrote it, but it's just still they're right on the edge. That's a really interesting statistic that you'd have these guys playing these big time minutes, but yet not.
Yeah.
Those teams not being there.
Yeah, for sure. And you would think for sure that guys like Hedman and Pietrangelo and those guys would be playing the biggest minutes, but it's not. So
really. I think I know what the common denominator is on this. They're all covering up cap ills on their team as far as not having there's a talent gap. So those teams have to use those guys.
Well, not just cap ills, but depth ills. I mean, because
the
bottom pairing on these teams are like, for example, Chabot. In Ottawa, their bottom pairing is not great. So he's playing all the power play time. He's playing 5-on-5 regularly, and it's a situation where for them to be competitive, he needs to play 26, 27, 28 minutes. It's sort of what Rasmus Ristolainen did in Buffalo for all those years. Why did he play 27 minutes a night? Because the rest of their defense sucked.
I mean, it's kind of like Corsi. A lot of people say, if your Corsi's good, you're going to be a good team, but it's actually the other way around. If you're a good team, your Corsi's good. And so what we're saying is if your team's really bad, your guy plays a lot of minutes because he has to. Right, if your team's really good, your guy doesn't have to play as
even
many
advanced stats, Kev, is like regular stats. You could get them to tell the story you want or convince yourself. You can.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that. But one thing about that Fleury thing, I'm starting to believe that could happen to Minnesota. Like I'm starting to believe that we could see Minnesota make an inquiry on that.
It feels like the most likely place, doesn't it? Like when
it does now after watching Talbot last night, especially.
I think this is the thing. I think that because Fleury's made the overtures about I don't need to go anywhere. He'll go someplace if it's someplace where he's got a chance to win, and we know that Guerin knows him being the former assistant GM in Pittsburgh, and you look at the Wild, and they might be a goalie away from being a real a real pain in the ass in the playoffs. And
yeah, I mean, he also might not want to move his family or want to be close to his family. Well, Minnesota is about as close as you can get to Chicago. Like really, as far as teams go, like as far as teams in the Midwest, right? I mean, that's a pretty close. Is that what it is, Kevin? Right, about an hour and a half drive, or
from where?
Minnesota to Chicago?
No, it's longer.
It's longer. I have no perspective on times.
It's a quick plane ride, though. That's a quick plane.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's still definitely. I don't know. That feels like something to me. Really interesting stat here that I heard today, and this one I like. As of today, based on all the numbers out there, Austin Matthews now has had a higher goals per game percentage in his career than Alexander Ovechkin. That's a pretty crazy stat. I mean, we think about Ovechkin as being like the greatest scorer we've seen in a long time. Yeah, but Matthews has played a few seasons.
But Austin Matthews has done it over 6 seasons, and Ovechkin's done it over 18.
And Ovechkin had that one really awful season too. Matthews has yet to experience that, which he will, or he'll have an injury-plagued season or something.
Yeah, his awful season was 39 goals, Russ.
Yeah, like 6 years is a long enough sample case for this to be a statistic that can be talked about. This
don't get me wrong, Ak. I mean, I think Austin Matthews is one of the top 2 or 3 players in this league, but we can't start talking about him in comparison to Ovechkin until at least he's played a decade.
Is he better than Wendell Clark, Mike?
Nobody's better than Wendell Clark.
No, but he's not. He's not like he's. I'm not sitting there. So I'm not trying to say he's better than Ovechkin. But go ahead, Kevin.
But Mike's point is a real good one. When Ovechkin scores 30 some goals, people go, man, he had a terrible season. Like he's at such a level, and as Mike pointed out, he's done it forever.
Yeah,
he's done it at a time when we say it's very difficult to score goals. So now Austin Matthews is doing the same thing, but he hasn't done nearly as long. And it's consistency. That's the hardest area of achievement, I think. So
I agree. I mean, it does seem though that like you think about people that could break, could he break Ovechkin's record someday if Ovechkin beats the goal streak of Gretzky? I mean, we're way out, of course, but
I think right now, the focus for Austin Matthews is winning a Stanley Cup.
Oh, for sure. No, there's no question about that. But as it was for Ovechkin for many years,
Yeah.
But the reality is, we might have one of the highest goal scorers, another one of the best goal scorers of all time in Matthews. Like, we have playing at the same time. And this brings up my topic that I wanted to have a little bit more research on today, but I'm going to get into it anyway with you guys. And then Monday, I'm going to have the actual numbers down. But for family stuff, I haven't been able to get the numbers as much as I wanted to. But here's the statistics that I want to talk about. Are we living in the best era of all time in the NHL? And the reason I'm going to say that, I'm going to base it on this. Are there more Hall of Famers playing in 2022 than were playing in 2012, 2002, 1992, 1982, 1972, or 1962? Are there more NHL Hall of Famers playing right now?
Definitely not more than 82.
And definitely not more than...
I would say statistically there should be. Because we have so many more players.
We have more players, but Hall of Famers are still Hall of Famers, right? Like that.
Well, they are, but I mean, it's always a percentage.
Now, in 2000, are you going to count Lemieux coming back? I mean, like that's
you can count him. I mean, and I guess the thought process on this is, how many Hall of Famers are playing in the NHL right now, and that's this is something that I wanted to do more research on. But if we go through the teams really quickly, I thought we might be able to have that experiment.
Well, I'll say this.
All right, that's fine. Go ahead and do it.
So let's go through. Go ahead, Mike. What do you want to say first?
I'll say this, because percentage-wise, in terms of the number of players per team, the greatest era in terms of Hall of Famers would be, the 60s, because there were only 6 teams. But all those players, I don't think there are many players that played in the 60s that are going to get in the Hall of Fame going forward, because all of them that are in there are good. That's it. I don't think anybody who's been great has been overlooked.
All right, so let's go through this real fast. Okay, Anaheim, Getzlaf is maybe the closest to a Hall of Famer. No, right?
No, he's a no.
I think he's a yes.
You think he's a yes, Kevin?
I have to look at his stats. Like I think he's right on the cusp. I mean,
Yeah.
I think you got to really dive deep on him.
All right, let's put him as a maybe. Let's put him as
Yeah,
a maybe.
yeah, as a maybe.
All right, Arizona. I don't think there's any players on Arizona. Phil Kessel is probably their best player in statistically, but he's not right. Marshawn, we've talked about.
I'll retract my Getzlaf. He only has 282 career goals.
Okay, so let's retract him. That's fair, right? Yeah. All right, so then the Bruins. Pasternak, maybe.
He's a maybe.
Marchand, Bergeron.
Definites, both of them?
Definites.
Yeah, okay. They're definites.
No
both
doubt.
Both of them are definites. And then, I mean, Pasternak has a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance.
If he keeps going the way he's going, sure.
So we'll say 2 possibles, 1 maybe so far we have, okay? Buffalo, no one's on Buffalo.
That's Craig Anderson.
No. Calgary, is Gaudreau a Hall of Famer?
No.
Okay, Lucic?
No,
right. So I don't see anybody else on this team, right? No. Okay, so 2 so far, 2 definites, 1 maybe. Carolina, will Aho be a Hall of Famer?
No.
Too early.
Yeah, it's way too early even though.
Yeah. Well, we know Russell will have a positive vote for Freddie Anderson.
Jordan Stahl, no. Okay. So I'm gonna go. We'll go 3. I think Svechnikov and Aho are both maybes, but
too early. It's too early. Actually.
Yeah, it's just
I mean, if you're gonna say,
well, you have
I think they're both gonna possibly miss, but I can see you saying maybe they get 1 out of the 2, maybe.
All right, so we have 2 definites right now. 1, we're still going 2 definites and going to go like 2 or 3, right. 2 or 3 maybes. Chicago, yes. Patrick Kane's a definite Hall of Famer, right?
Taves is a definite Hall of Famer.
Taves a definite Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Okay,
3 Stanley Cups.
4 there. Marc-Andre Fleury is a definite Hall of Famer?
Yes. No doubt.
Okay, so that's 5. Seth Jones, maybe, but
no, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Moving to Colorado, McKinnon's a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 6. Landeskog.
I can't say Makar yet. He's on the way, but
I feel like Makar's a Hall of Famer.
He's too young. It's too young. It's
we have to project what we have to project.
I don't think Landeskog would make it. No.
In this game, you have to project a little bit here. Makar.
Yeah, Nazem Kadri is a definite. Sure.
It's hard to project a guy in his that young.
We're doing it because Zach wants us to. So
no, but when you look back, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to figure out if we're living in the best time.
No.
Okay,
well, keep figuring. Shut up.
All right, let's play this through. Okay. All right, that's Colorado. Columbus.
Wait, hold on. You didn't mention Rantanen. I think he's a maybe.
He's a maybe. Yep. So I'll give him a maybe too. And Makar, I'm giving it to Makar because he's the best player at his position right now.
I'm going to give it to Makar too.
And whenever we talk about the Hall of Fame, one of the things is the best player in your position at the time.
Yeah, in your decade, in your era,
in your time, he is the best right now. So I'm going to say yes.
Adam Fox has something to say about that.
He does, but it's fine.
All right. I don't see anybody on Columbus.
No.
Oh, come on, Boone Jenner. He's a definitely Hall of Famer.
Not Line A either. No.
All right. Tyler Seguin.
No.
Jamie Benn.
No.
Joe Pavelski.
No.
Yes, maybe yes.
I guess for me.
Or he's borderline.
There's also the USA stuff too. You got to take that into account.
If they haven't taken it into account for Richter, Joe Pavelski's got nothing on Richter.
And I would put Miro Heiskanen in the
Heiskanen is a maybe.
In the Makar category. Yes, if he keeps playing the way he is for another 8-9 years, then yeah. But right now, no.
So that's Kevin, I'm going to let you go. You be the deciding vote.
Kevin dropped off for a second.
Oh, I did. Okay, sorry. I'm looking at this other thing.
He's got to get 85 more goals for 500 Pavelski. He's not a point a game. So if he gets 500 goals, he might do it, but that's 85 goals.
Okay, when Kevin comes back, I'm going to get his Pavelski.
I don't think he's getting 85 more goals.
Okay. All right. His success with USA hockey was something to be mentioned, though. You know, did I lose you guys?
He'll be in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame.
Cool.
He'll be in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. That's where he'll be.
U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame for sure. I'll give you that. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I'm doing too many. I have too many screens open at once here. All right. I apologize. I can't see. I've lost the screen you guys are on completely. So anyway, that's fine. Tell me when Kevin gets back. We'll ask him about Pavelski.
Okay.
All right. All right. So far I have 7. Anybody on Detroit?
I mean, really, it's so early. Just say one.
No, there's nobody.
No, I mean, you can't say no between Sider and Raymond.
No,
Maybe
but I'm saying it's too.
we got to give him at least one maybe.
Dylan Larkin. I mean, come on.
No, there's at least a maybe there. So I've got 8. I'm going to say
one maybe. That's
right now. I have 8 yeses and 8 maybes so far.
That's fine.
All right. But we're going to continue. Edmonton. Okay. McDavid and Draisaitl both, right?
Yes, they're both in.
Okay, so that's 10. Anybody else on the team?
Duncan Keith.
Duncan Keith. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I mean Keith will probably get in.
I think he'll probably get in because he's again the best defenseman for an era, right? Like for a period of time.
Not for a whole era, but for enough of one.
For a couple years at least, right?
3 Stanley Cups.
Yeah, we'll put him in.
All right, so that's 11 yeses. There's no real maybes on this team.
No.
If Darnell Nurse, perhaps, but I don't think so.
No.
If McNabb's not in, he's not in.
The Florida Panthers. Huberdeau?
No.
Barkov, maybe.
He's a maybe.
All right.
No Bobrovsky, no Ekblad.
Well, Bobrovsky. Now that if Bobrovsky wins the Stanley Cup,
he's not getting in. It's so hard.
He wins 3 Vezinas and wins the Stanley Cup with the Florida Panthers. He's in.
3. But he hasn't.
Are there any?
We'll have to circle back because they do actually have to win that before we say that.
Yeah, let's circle back in 10 years.
He's definitely a maybe though.
He's not. I mean, he's not a maybe for me right now without a cup. No.
Yeah, I mean, without a cup,
he could still get hurt, and Spencer Knight could still come in a cup. I could see that happening. I'm not going there.
I go maybe on Barkov too. I think he's actually.
We did go maybe on Barkov. We agreed with that.
10, 12, maybe 10 yeses, 12 maybes. Ekblad, not. No, too many injuries right now. Actually, Okay. We don't have Kevin yet, right? Okay.
No,
I don't have the screen, so I can't.
He's having trouble coming back in.
No problem. What? Oh, having trouble getting back in?
Yeah.
Okay, good. No problem. Sorry. LA, Kopitar?
Yes.
Yes.
Dowdy, yes. Quick.
11, 12. Jonathan,
yes.
Quick.
Yeah, I think there's 3 there. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, 13.
An outside chance on Dustin Brown, but probably not. Yeah.
I'll give him maybe 13 yeses, 12 maybes, or 11 maybes. Sorry, 11 maybes. 13 yeses, 11 maybes. All right. We're only halfway through the league. 13. The Minnesota Wild.
Even Kaprizov, I can't say yes because he could go back to the cage.
Yeah, no, he's only played 2 years. So if the guy's played 2 years, that is really young. Nobody on that one. All right, so we're still at 12 and 11. All right, so let's go to the Canadians, Montreal Canadiens right now.
No.
Well, Carey Price.
Shea Weber.
Carey Price and Shea Weber are still on that. Are still technically on the team.
Price is getting in.
And Shea Weber is 2, I think.
Shea Weber will get in. So, yeah, he has to count somewhere, so that's fine.
14 yeses, 11 maybes. Okay. Nashville.
Nobody.
Roman Josi? Yeah, Yosi's Yosi's at least a maybe.
You want to put him in maybe? I could live with that.
Pekka Rinne, even though he's retired.
He's a maybe. I made the argument he should be, but you guys said no. We had that discussion already.
Listen, go look at how many goalies. There's been like 5 goalies in like the last 20 years.
And he
didn't win NHL numbers are almost identical to Lundqvist, so it's kind of interesting.
And he didn't win a Stanley Cup, so it's
right.
Let's say Lundqvist and Cujo are ahead of him in terms of goalies who have not won Stanley Cups.
Yeah, and Lundqvist won.
Joe Thornton and Terry 3G said in Florida, so yeah, Joe Thornton.
Oh, Joe Thornton in Florida. Okay, yeah, very good.
Oh, yeah, we forgot about Joe. Yeah, he'll make it.
15 and 12 right now. Okay.
Sure.
The Devils.
Nobody,
right? PK Subban, no.
I mean, I'll give him a maybe on Jack Hughes because now that he's playing at this level. But listen, I'm giving him a maybe, Mike. Shut up.
No, this is too young. It's I'm not saying he's not capable. I'm not saying he's not capable.
All right, let's just we won't give him maybe. We'll wait off on that. The Islanders. Obviously, Sorokin.
Zach Parise and Chara.
Parise
will make it. Parise's not making it.
Parise's not making it. He's. I don't think so. Maybe.
Is Ryan Suter making it in Dallas?
He's a maybe.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about him. Yeah, he's a
maybe.
Yeah, he's really close. 16, 14. I'm gonna put Suter on the maybe list.
Yeah, we forgot about him.
16, 14. Yeah, I did forget about him.
The chat room forgot about him.
The Rangers currently.
Panarin,
yeah.
He'll make it.
17, 14.
too early on everybody else.
But no, you gotta say Fox. You gotta give Fox a maybe. It's because he's that good.
I think it's too early, but
I would like to give him a maybe. Yeah, give him a maybe.
And Shesterkin's a maybe in my mind too, but all right, we'll go 17-15. All right, 17-15. All right, then we go to Ottawa. Currently, no,
Nobody.
not anybody currently in Ottawa. Oh, you know what we forgot about? Oh no, we didn't forget about. Never mind, we didn't get there yet. The Flyers. Is Giroux a maybe?
He's a maybe. You want to give him a maybe? Give him a maybe.
I don't think he has a chance, but unless he goes to like Colorado, wins a stamp, does something like that, then he's interesting.
He's one of those guys that will be talked about, and he'll be up for debate, but he's a maybe.
He's going to be in the top 6 scorers over the last 10 years. I mean, that's like a crazy.
I know, and those other 5 will get in, and he'll be a maybe.
He won't. He'll do too.
That's what I think.
No, you're right. Yeah. So all right, we're 17 and 15 still.
But if he does win a cup, then you're in the conversation, like you said.
Penguins, Malkin and Crosby.
Yes.
Letang.
Letang's not getting in.
We won a
Look at his
couple
numbers.
cups.
He's not getting in.
We won a couple cups.
I know, but he's not getting in.
3 cups. I think he's getting in.
I don't think he's getting in.
Mike, I guess you're the decider here.
I think he's getting in.
All right, then he's in.
You don't even know what his numbers look like. You're voting on cups.
Doesn't matter. I mean, he's the best defenseman on that team.
If that were
For
the
3
case,
cups.
I mean, there's a million New York Islanders that won 3 cups. You gonna put Lauren Henning in the whole thing?
Okay, 915 games played, 140 goals, 491 assists, 631 points.
It's not enough.
It's 2-1. When Kevin gets back, we'll have to get his feelings on Pavelski and Letang. All right. San Jose.
Jeff Carter.
Jeff Carter is
Carter's a maybe.
Maybe he doesn't have cups and everything like that. Yeah. 17-14. We'll call it 17-14. The Sharks.
Marlowe.
Technically still playing.
But he can't count. He's not in the league.
He didn't play in 2022 at all. Like there's
Marlowe, Carlson, maybe Brent Burns.
Carlson, and you think Carlson's a definite? I don't.
2 Norris trophies.
I'm gonna say this. Give him 2 maybes.
Let's have Kevin talk. We'll give him 1 maybe. Let's give Kevin one and Carlson.
Carlson is the Kirby Puckett of hockey.
Yeah, I'm giving Carlson. By the way, I'm giving Carlson the maybe over Burns.
Yeah, I am too. I'm with you on that. There's no one on Seattle. St. Louis.
Mark Giordano.
Oh, Mark Giordano is a maybe. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
That's a nothing. No.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's anywhere close. Actually, I mean he's
really,
a great player.
Really great player, but no.
The St. Louis Blues.
I mean, Tarasenko's a maybe.
Yeah.
I think he's had enough. He's had enough bad years recently. I don't know. We'll give him a maybe. All right, 17-16.
Well, because of the injuries, I think that'll help his case, Mike.
Yeah. Right.
17-16. All right. Tampa. All right. So Tampa, Kucherov, Stamkos.
Right. Hedman.
So that's 19-20. That's 20 right there. We have 20 Hall of Famers so far. 20 and
Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
I think Vasilevsky's a definite.
Could you say Brent Seabrook?
No.
Corey
Okay, so we got Kevin back. Kevin, we need you to weigh in on 3 players.
Okay.
Pavelski.
Okay, who did 3?
Pavelski, Erik Karlsson.
Okay.
And who was the other one, guys?
Ryan Suter.
And Ryan Suter.
No, but it wasn't Ryan Suter. It was.
Wow, those are all good ones. I think maybe on Pavelski.
Okay. Makes us 20 and 19.
Oh, Letang was the other one.
Letang.
I think yes on Carlson.
All right, 21-19. Yep.
And Letang, yes.
22-19.
And who was the 4th?
Pavelski.
No, you already said yes for Pavelski.
Yeah.
Ryan Suter.
That's a really tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's a borderline. I think he's a maybe.
He's maybe too. I think I'm with you. 21-20. Okay, all right.
Continue. Okay, continue. Braden Point.
Braden Point is a maybe?
He's a maybe.
Yeah, he's a maybe.
I don't know. He's like one of those guys. He's like Glenn Anderson. He's like the Glenn Anderson of this Tampa.
He is like the Glenn Anderson. That's a very good.
And that's fine. You think that's about right? Like, that's where he is.
Corey Perry?
No.
But I think Braden Point will get there.
You think he will?
Yeah, I do. I mean, but he's got to go. He's got to go some. Yeah.
22-19. All right. All right. Moving on to Toronto. Matthews.
Yeah, definitely
Yes.
Michael Bunting.
Yeah, Matthews. Matthews is a yes.
Yeah.
Matthews, yes.
Tavares.
Yes.
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 Yes. 23-19. Marner's is
Marner's
Marner's
a maybe. Marner's a maybe.
Yeah.
Marner's a maybe.
20.
There's nobody. There's Jake Muzzin. No, nobody on their
Actually, if
defense.
they want to put Marner in and take Dick Duff out, I'm fine with that.
But he's a
Vancouver. Elias Pettersson's a maybe for me.
He's
You
not
forgot-
a maybe for me.
You forgot Peter Mrazek. Come on.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll move on from that.
He's not a maybe for me. No.
Is Pettersson a maybe for anybody?
Not yet.
That's too early.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't see anybody else on this team really. Quinn Hughes.
If you want to give him a maybe, I would give him a maybe.
Demko, same thing. It's too early.
No, but
We
Hughes
give
already
guys like Quinn Hughes. No,
Hughes
it's
is already doing some things that defensemen have never done, Mike. Like
yeah, I'm with you on that.
No, but it's too early.
But if we give Hughes one, you got to give Mo Sider one. Like to me, they're like the maybe.
No. Hughes is already ahead of Sider. Sider got a little catch up to do. Like no.
That's a really good debate. Who's better, Mo Sider or Quinn Hughes? I want to throw that out there. Anyway,
Is that a really good debate? Not yet.
Another topic for another day. The Vegas Golden Knights. Eichel.
Well, okay. Let me just say this. Here's my argument about too early. The first 4 seasons of this particular defenseman, he had from 1979 to 1983. He had 47, 67, 61, and 75 points. His name is Paul Reinhart. First 4 years, he's a Hall of Fame. He's on a Hall of Fame track. Was he a Hall of Famer? No. So you can't say maybe because it's not. You have to wait.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good argument, Mike.
That's a very good argument, but we're gonna keep doing what we've been doing because I'm really only looking to see who's the main Hall of Famers, but I'm just looking. Maybe it's just like a fun little side category. All right. Eichel. No.
Stone.
Mark Stone.
Pietrangelo.
Pietrangelo, I'll give you that. He's in.
Yeah,
right?
I think Pietrangelo.
I mean, Jack Eichel could be a maybe. I mean, he's had
maybe. I'm going to give him a maybe. Yeah,
consecutive seasons
Sure, why not?
Of 25 or more goals.
Yeah, he's
sure. Why not?
Do you agree that Pietrangelo?
I don't think anybody on the Hall of Fame voting panel does that too, Mike. After a couple of beers.
Well, we got one guy who's on it, or who's been on it. So
yeah, Kevin's been on it and is in the Hall of Fame. So Kevin gets the final vote on this.
So when I get in the Hall of Fame, then we'll have 2.
Yes, that I will be there at that.
You're not even in the Jello Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
you're not even in that.
I think Russ has a 5 times greater chance of getting in than me, and Mike, you probably have like a 3 times.
Russ has a better chance of getting in the Jello Hall of Fame than I do.
All right, let's move on. All right, we're running out of time here. So Eichel, Pacioretty, no,
not Pacioretty.
We all agree Pietrangelo, yes.
Yes.
Kevin, yes for Pietrangelo?
I think he's a maybe. I mean, I think he'll get in, but
yeah, it's okay. All right, yeah. I mean, he's a voter. I'm going to go with Kevin on these. We get the Capitals. Ovechkin, yes, obviously.
Backstrom,
yes.
Backstrom's a maybe.
Kevin.
Yeah, I think he's going to get in though.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody else. Not because Kuznetsov.
Carlson, I could give a maybe too.
Carlson's a maybe. Yeah.
All right, 26.
If he wins a second cup with the numbers he has, I think Carlson would get in.
Yeah, I think Carlson is going to get in because if they win another cup,
Tom Wilson will get in the Jerk Hall of Fame. But
27. All right, so 27, 23. All right, so we're at 27, and now we're on the Winnipeg Jets. I don't see anybody on this team.
No.
Yeah. Not even Dustin Byfuglien.
Yeah. Okay. So we're at that finishes the thing. So the 27 definites that we came up with, and I think that those are. So now what my job is going to be before Monday is go back and check out the other decades of players who played in the other O2s. And I'm going to see if we've ever had a time when 27 and again, there's also a few of those maybes are going to make it. A few of them are going to turn around.
So cap it at 35. Say 35.
So let's say, that's good. Let's give like 1/3 of them, or like even 1/5. Okay, so 35, 30. Let's say 30. Let's just start with 30.
30 is a fair number.
I bet there's not another 2 that has 30 Hall of Famers playing at the same time.
I think the 80s. I think the 80s does.
I completely disagree.
1982.
I think the 80s. I think the 60s. I think the 70s.
70s.
I don't think there's not enough teams in the
players.
In 1962, there's not enough players. There's just
right. I just don't think there's enough.
Yeah, but look at the rosters. You go to the rosters that played from 62 to 72. On the Maple Leafs alone, there's what, 12? I mean, both goaltenders of the 67 Maple Leafs, the one Stanley Cup.
That's interesting, Mike. You actually did make that is one of your better points you've made in a long time.
Right. Right.
Wow.
Gee, thanks. I'm only on the show every day. Let me.
By the way, I told Captain EO about what you said about his defense. He's going to be chatting with you.
Yeah,
he says he's good defensively. He's lying. Go ahead, Kevin. What you're saying?
Well, I was just going to say, Mike. Mike's accurate when he says, he gets the attendance award on this panel. Like he's 100%. Have you ever missed anything?
He's the Iron Man.
2 shows in whatever how many 8-9 years that we've been doing.
Yeah, he has 2 shows. 2 shows in 9 years. He is no question the Iron Man.
Were you sick?
One was jury duty, and the other one was sick.
Yeah, it was legally, and I think maybe you might have missed maybe a couple when you're traveling to Toronto.
No, every time I go in Toronto, I'm doing
it.
You usually do it, I know. But I thought for some reason there was like
there was one other time. I think maybe it wasn't sick. He was
that's
Toronto.
Damn impressive, no matter what. I mean, it's like your numbers are always done.
I think
how rich
will beat the 2000s. I think it has the 2000s beat. But I think it's up against.
I think it's going to have 92 beat. I think 92. I don't think 92 is going to catch it.
I used the were you sick line because when I got out of college, I interviewed for a job over the phone for a Florida weekly newspaper, and the guy that owned it was very old, and he says, "Do you have any questions?" And I said, "Well, do you have like insurance?" And he goes, "Why are you sick?" And I said, "No, I'm not." But he goes,
"You never know what's going to happen."
He says, "What's it with you Midwesterners? You always want to know about insurance." And I said, "Well, we just kind of expected here,
It's you guys are nervous about the future, and you're very very careful people."
Yeah. Needless to say, I didn't go to that newspaper.
There is not a Hockey Buzz Hall of Fame, but I would be upset if I'm not in the original class.
No, Mike, you are in the Hockey Buzz Hall of Fame. There's no ways about it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he could be in the original class for sure. So you're first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, you are first ballot. There's a couple, but there's not that many in Mike's.
Perfect attendance award.
Funky with the tweet of the text of the day. Mike is in the Hall of Tang
for sure.
Now a couple things here. I sent this to our group.
I have to go, guys. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, that's
but this time, I want everybody to have a wonderful weekend and out there. And just thanks, guys. Thanks so much. And I'll be back on Monday with more of this Hall of Fame stuff, so we'll be able to figure it out.
Okay, we will carry forth here.
Thanks, guys. Good job.
All right. So Pierre LeBrun tweeted out something that he's been doing a series of interviews with NHL general managers, and excellent stuff because it's a good insight. And he sent out a message saying, one recurring theme from talking to a dozen or so NHL front office sources over the last few days, the buyers in the trade market keep telling the sellers they need more time for cap reasons mostly, and 16 teams are in long-term injured reserve space. Sellers are getting a bit antsy. They want to get it going. Now, Kev, I mean, those buyers, they have no cap room. So the hundreds of thousands of dollars that accrue each day will make the difference in terms of those teams being able to fit a player or not. So the sellers, unless they're really willing to retain salary or trade through a third team, they're going to have to wait until the buyers can afford the players.
Well, for sure, and this is why there's nothing happening because everyone's also waiting to see if anybody else gets hurt. because this is sports, so it's going to happen. And I'm starting to wonder too. Are there going to be enough teams looking for players? And like the players that are going to move are going to be these real inexpensive players,
right?
Yeah.
So
well, Kevin, as an example, last night at the Flyers game, the Rangers had 3 scouts. One was a pro scout, fine. If you want to say they were scouting Minnesota for when they play them, fine. They had 3 there. So clearly they're looking, and probably their most likely is Justin Braun. And I saw guys lurking in the shadows talking. Like, both teams could make that deal tomorrow.
Lurking in the shadows? Were they wearing trench coats?
People hiding in the crevices of the press box having conversations. You know what that's like.
I do. Yeah. I don't know that I would have phrased it like that, but yes, I do.
Back in the old days, it was you'd be in the hallway with the smoke, when everybody's smoking. And I still remember to this day. This is as a tangent. Going to the old Odd in Buffalo, in the 70s and the 80s, and everybody would smoke in the walkways because this is before they stopped. They didn't allow smoking. And if you were sitting in the stands, you could see, like in the exits, you could see the smoke billowing out of the exits. It was almost like there was a fire going on, and there's just cigar and cigarette smoke. But
well, when I started watching hockey in the original 6 era, when you went to Olympia Stadium, if you were sitting up in the upper level, I mean, you literally had to go like this to get.
It was a haze.
You could smoke down there.
It was a haze.
Yeah.
Definitely was.
It was a haze. Yeah, I mean, you watch the game through a smoke-filled haze.
Yes. Now, what I said to Russ in our group text is that this is an opportunity for the teams that actually do have cap space, like the Rangers, like the Kings, to make a deal preemptively and maybe get a favorable. Have to pay a favorable price, because those other buyers are not able to make deals right now.
Yeah, but everybody knows what they might be able to get from a certain team, so that's why it's not happening. Like, even though, let's just say the Carolina Hurricanes want to go for a player, and they're saying, wait, because I got to get to over $1 million in cap space. Well, they know what the Canes are willing to give, but they also know what the Lightning are willing to give too, because they've talked to them, even though they haven't made a deal. So, if they're not, you're not going to get favorable terms because they know if they wait, they can get this or that.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know that I buy that if you do early, you can get a better deal.
Let me go. I'm going to go the other direction. Kev, is it possible that some GMs that are sort of waiting for like the best offer, they know what some of these teams are going to give them, but there are some teams on the fence because they don't know if they're making the playoffs or not, and there are other ones that don't know if they can kick out of the cap or not. Are there going to be some teams that end up not being able to trade some players that we all think they should trade?
I think there are some players that could end up getting stuck. I think when the music stops, there won't be enough chairs. You look at the number of teams, for example, that are looking for a defenseman. The Rangers are in there. The Boston Bruins are in there. The Florida Panthers are in there. When you start adding up the high-profile defensemen, with Giordano and Klingberg, yeah, there's a lot of them. Nick Leddy, yeah, Sherratt. There may not be enough teams. Like, who's going to take all those guys because they're unless you get someone hurt. A lot of guys. I mean, even if you're leaking out $100,000 a day, you're still going to only end up with a.
I think there are enough teams. I just don't think there's enough cap space, and that's the thing. I mean,
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what he means. Yeah.
Right. And the thing is, it's like, I mean, if you're Yzerman or if you're Kevin Adams or you're Pierre Dorian, you can make a killing in this market right now just for retaining salary for 20 games. It makes too much sense.
Yeah, although that also, I mean, I'm starting to get the feeling that this is kind of like the second round of expansion when everyone learned by, people saw what happened last year, and I think they thought, okay, well, we'll be able to help somebody out and get we'll only have to give a 4th round pick. But I get the impression that's not what teams are asking. I think they want more now. So I don't know if it's easy to do it as you think.
No, it's not easy, and maybe they're like everything. The price is high right now, and as you get close to the deadline, maybe it'll lower because if say you're a team like the Ottawa Senators and you have an opportunity to move, and they don't have expensive players, but there are other teams that do have expensive players. If you have an opportunity to get something for basically 20 games worth of retention, I think you're foolish to not do it. But, if you have an owner like Eugene Melnick who doesn't want to spend money, then that'll be a factor as well. One thing I saw last night, it was reported on TSN's Insider Report, was, again, we know that Toronto is the hotbed of rumors. That's why it is the, quote, center of the hockey universe, so to speak. That their assistant general manager, Lawrence Gilman, who's the right-hand man of Kyle Dubas, was trailing the Vancouver Canucks on 2 road games in New York and against the Rangers and against the Islanders. And there's been rumors out there, Kev, for the last couple weeks, first started by Elliot Friedman and now getting mentioned by, CJ and Pierre and Drager, that the Leafs are in on JT Miller. And I was saying to Russ, I don't know how that deal gets done because we know Jim Rutherford, and he's a guy who likes making hockey deals. I don't think he's trading JT Miller with a year left for futures. I think he wants players to change the mix in Vancouver. And short of the Leafs trading, and I don't think they're going to trade William Nylander in season, but short of them trading a Nylander or maybe a package involving a guy like Alex Kerfoot, I don't see the fit of how Toronto gets JT Miller from Vancouver.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Because you're right, and you're going to want a lot for JT Miller. Like he's a good player. He's a proven player. You know what you're getting. So yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me either about how they could get that done. It makes sense with the Rangers. They have a lot of good young players. They can move that, and I don't. The Rangers don't want to give up their young players, but if you're making a hockey deal, I think you're more willing to do that.
It's not a rental, and see, the thing is, the complicating factor for the Rangers, if it's JT Miller, is the fact that he is not a rental, is the fact he's got another year because Zibanejad and Fox's contract kick in.
No, but they would prefer that, Mike. They prefer the extra year because then they don't have to worry about Strome.
Right. I was going to say, then they just simply wouldn't sign Strome. Yeah.
Right.
My person, and I'm going to write about this in a couple minutes. My personal thought is that it's not Miller, that it could be, and I don't know if in terms of what Rutherford's looking for a Brock Besser, but I don't think it's a Brock Besser deal. I think it might be something like Luke Shen, because Luke Shen is a right-hand defenseman and he's cheap and he's signed through next year. And, I don't think he'd be overly expensive because, he's a 5'6" defenseman, and maybe that's all that the Leafs can afford. There's been a lot of talk about Max Domi, and I don't know about. I know that, Columbus is maybe anxious to move him because he's a rental, but talk about big salaries, $5.3 million for Domi, Russ. I mean, it's tough to fit.
He could be one of those guys that does not go anywhere.
Yeah.
By the way, there's Mike. I got to read this because
Mark
Elias has this Twitter trade, and I want to get Kevin's reaction. Here's the Twitter trade, Kevin. It's Ben Sherratt and a third for Nicola, Matt Nyes, and a first from the Leafs. What is your feeling, Kevin? Mike, don't say a word.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead again. Go ahead again. Read it to me again.
Okay. The trade is
Ben Sherratt, right, for Topi Niemela, Matthew Nyes, and what was it, a first?
First.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to do it. So
Matt, was it Matt?
Mark.
Sorry, Mark, you're high.
But he's just saying it's a Twitter rumor. That's all.
High. And I'm sorry, there is no way that when Kyle Dubas comes out a week ago and says, I'm not trading Niemela, I'm not trading Nick Robertson, I'm not trading Nick Abraziz, I'm not, he's basically saying I'll trade draft picks and I'll trade some of our mid prospects, but I'm not trading our best prospects.
And Matthew Nyes is their next Zach Hyman. They're not trading no.
Yeah, no, and especially like I said when the news came out, with the news that came out about Amarov, that just makes the Leafs less likely of trading any of the prospects in the pipeline because that was a kid who was a first-round pick who they had slotted for being in the NHL in the next couple of years, and now his future is beyond doubt right now because we don't know what's going to happen with this. We all hope and pray that he is able to continue his career, but with a brain tumor, you
don't know. I mean,
you don't know.
Obviously, the odds are against him for sure.
Right.
You never know. Also, with Jacob Chikrin, I think now this complicates things in the sense that I think now teams turn to Arizona quicker than for Chikrin than they would for some of these other guys because they can fit his salary. But the caveat is they've got to give up so much now.
Well,
to get I don't know. That'll be interesting for me.
That's the thing, Kev. If the price is so high on rentals, then teams might be more willing to pay a little higher price to get a guy like Chikrin who's got term left on his deal. I mean, I looked at Chikrin and I thought the LA Kings makes so much sense for him because they have all these assets, and if you look at them right now. They lost Walker for the year. Edler's hurt. They've got a lot of youth on defense. If they add Chikrin, not to say they're going to beat Colorado, but at least they'd be a much more solid team going into the playoffs and going forward. Chikrin's not old. I mean, I think he's a fit for them and for St. Louis and a couple other teams, but. It's going to be a hefty price.
Yeah, it is. But, I mean, I don't think, it's just like the Jack Eichel trade. Like, they didn't get exactly what they wanted, but they got close to it. And I think that's what would happen here. Like, you might get 3 first-round equivalents and then a second or, or another prospect. And I think that's what will happen. But I know there are teams willing to play, close to that. It's just the problem is that the teams they're talking to have some really, really good prospects. And obviously, like Florida, for example, they're going to want your best prospects. With Detroit, they want, Raymond or Sider, and the Red Wings aren't going to do that. And, the Panthers aren't giving up Spencer Knight, and there are other teams that won't give up their best. They're not, Lafreniere is not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, you're not going to trade the number 1 pick overall. No. So, they're going to have to move off of that if they want to, get a deal done with those teams.
Yeah, and finally, today is the 90th birthday of Dick Irvin.
Wow.
And growing up, being able to watch Hockey Night in Canada, in Buffalo, we had the rabbit ears on the roof so we could pick up. The CBC out of Toronto, and we got a chance to see a lot of Canadians games with Danny Gallivan and Dick Irvin, and he was always great. So, and I'm glad to hear he's still alive and doing well. But a consummate pro, as John Shannon said on Twitter. Yeah, definitely.
All right, so here's the quick post game, Mike. The Bismarck Larks. Have banned Rob Manfred from the 2022 season. They're a league that basically gets college players to transition from college to minor league baseball. And so they put out this decree that Rob Manfred is banned from the ballpark. And part of the reasons that they were citing was that he let's see, I'll give you the quote. We officially announced that we are banning Manfred from the Larks games until the lockout. The home opener is June 1st. And they basically say he is not fun and he is hate. Okay, here's what it is. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred hates baseball and hates fun.
Well, I don't know if he hates
this
fun.
This is why I like minor league baseball. That's an opportunity, man.
It definitely seems like he hates baseball sometimes with some of the things that he's done. But, I mean, I think we firmly established, Kev, Rob Manfred is the commissioner of the owners, not of the fans and not of the players.
Well, that's always the case. The commissioner always represents ownership, and the head of the Players Association always helps.
Generally, a commissioner will love a sport to a certain degree. We don't see that with Rob Manfred.
Yeah.
No, but when he refers to the World Series trophy as a hunk of tin or something like that, I think it was something
piece of
like
metal.
That. Piece of metal. There you go. Then I mean that sort of speaks to his point of view. I have to bring this up before we end the show here because I am a little stunned at this. As we've seen in Winnipeg, as we've seen in Ottawa, where they're going to sing the Ukrainian national anthem the rest of the season. The Washington Capitals are officially forbidding Ukrainian or Russian flags in the arena. So could that have something to do with the heavy Russian contingent?
Absolutely.
On that team? Wow.
Yeah, no, it's, and that someone brought up to me, like, what if this just stretches on and, Russia closes up their borders and the U.S. stops allowing work visas? Like, what happens next year?
Yeah, right. No, and it's even having effects. Like right now, I saw a report that a number of foreign nationals are leaving the KHL in the middle of the playoffs. There was a list of like 10 or 12 players. Most of them were Finnish. And the thing is, according to the report here, the way these players get paid is they get their money deposited in rubles in a Russian bank. And first of all, the ruble has crashed, and second of all, I don't think based on the sanctions that have just been placed,
you couldn't get your money out.
They can't get their money out. So essentially, these players have either been playing for. I'm sure they took their money out beforehand and sent it back home.
Smart ones did.
Oh, right. But from now until the end of the season, that money is gone. So this is going to hurt the KHL. It really is.
Yeah. No, it's a sport. It's secondary, obviously, to what's going on over there. Yeah. But it's going to be disrupted by this.
All right, great show, guys. We'll be back on Monday with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For the departed Eklund, for Kevin Allen, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you for watching. And remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.